Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Shri Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Shri Radhe. Jayo Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jayo Krishna Balaram. Jayo Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jayo Vrindavan Dham. Jayo Gaurani Tai, Gaurani Tai, Gaurani Tai, Jayo Gaurani Tai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you all for our weekly Gita class. So today we are doing it online also. Hare. So we are having the class today online also and offline also. So we are at Vaibhav Kalangudkar's house. So we'll continue our discussion on the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So last time we had done till verse number 10. So the shloka 10 is like this. Vitaraga bhaya krodha man maya man upashrita bhavaho jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agata. So Krishna is saying here, being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So last time we were discussing this verse. So we were seeing that in this particular verse, Krishna is using the word me so many times. You all can listen to the translation again. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So Krishna is using the word mam so many times here. So actually, in this one shloka, we are understanding what is the essence of Krishna consciousness. The essence of Krishna consciousness is to take shelter of Krishna. Man maya mam upashrita. Always thinking of Krishna and taking shelter of Krishna. And Krishna says, if we do this, what will happen? Mad bhavam agata. One will attain love for Krishna. So we discussed that how in this material world, these three emotions, Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha, Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. Raga is attachment, Bhaya is fear, Krodha is anger. So these three emotions continuously affect us. Either we are attached to something, we are afraid of something, or we are frustrated. Anger means basically frustration. And in this world, there is always some reason to be frustrated or the other. But Krishna is saying here, if we take shelter of Krishna, then we can overcome all these things. Just like the Bhagavatam says, Yasyam vai shrunumanayam Krishne parama purushe bhaktir utpatyate pumsam shoka moha bhayapaha. So the Bhagavatam says that if we hear Krishna Katha, then what will happen? We will be freed from shoka moha bhaya. And the same thing Krishna is saying here, when we are freed from these three things and we take shelter of Krishna, we will attain knowledge to Krishna, about Krishna, and we will attain love for Krishna. So we discussed this verse in which the Prabhupada explains how we are supposed to channelize our attachment. In this world, we all have attachment to the people of this world, the things of this world. But the process of Krishna consciousness is to channelize our attachment. Right now, we are in love with this world. We are supposed to understand that our real love is with Krishna. Sachinandan Maharaj in his book Living Name, he explains how in this world we are all looking for different needs. Right? हम सबके अलग-अलग ज़रूरतें हैं. We all have different needs. The need, to be appreciated, to be respected. All these are different needs. But ultimately, the innermost need for all of us is to love. And this need actually can be fulfilled when we connect to Krishna. We need to channelize our attachments to Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada quotes this set of verses from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Tata Bhajana Kriya Tata Anartha Nivritti Syad Tata Nishta Ruchi Tata Asakti Stato Bhava Tata Premna. So this is the entire sequence. This is like a roadmap how we will attain this love of God. So it all starts with little faith, Adau Shraddha. From this little faith, when we come in association of devotees, Sadhu Sangha, what happens in Sadhu Sangha? Bhajana Kriya. We all participate in the process of bhakti. So when we keep participating in the process of bhakti, what is happening is anartha nivritti. All our anarthas, unwanted things are reducing. So bhajana kriya and anartha nivritti happen simultaneously. And if you keep continuing this process, what will happen? You will reach a stage of nishta. Our faith will become very strong. It will not be shaken. And then we will attain ruchi, taste, asakti, bhav, prema. We will attain love of God. So in the process of bhakti, we have a long way to go. So Srila Prabhupada actually, I don't know, we were discussing this point here or in some other context. So it may apparently appear that the scriptures say that the bhakti is a very fast process, but it takes time. We need to be patient. So we need to understand that till we reach the stage of prema, we have to keep going on. So if we remain steady in this process, consistent in this process, gradually we will attain the stage of love. And that is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is explaining here in the purport. Now from the next set of verses, 11 verses 11 to 15 is the next section. So this fourth chapter, Transcendental Knowledge, there is an acronym for this fourth chapter called years, EARS. So the first 10 verses, so what we discussed now was the 10th verse. Verse 1 to 10 discusses eternal education. We have been discussing this first 10 verses for quite a few weeks. This is eternal education. What is eternal education? Krishna consciousness, right? So because the education in this world, we may attain some education, but this is not going to help us beyond this life. Okay? Whatever education is, it is only for this life. But the only education that will come beyond this life is the education of Krishna consciousness. So our ISKCON centers are the real educational hubs. This is where real education happens, eternal education. And once you get educated in this, there is no loss. So this is what the first section, verse 1 to 10 explains, eternal education. Now this next section that we're going to start today is verses 11 to 15, which speak about accurate understanding. What is the right understanding of various concepts? Especially in this land of India, people have all vague understandings, complete wrong understandings. So this is called half knowledge. So in India, everyone thinks they know, but they all know halfway through. Ada. Complete knowledge they don't have. So here Krishna is giving us accurate understanding about himself and about this material world. So we'll get into this section. Text 11, which is a very, very important verse. You all can repeat after me. Ye yata ma prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartamano vartante manushya partha sarvasha ye yatama prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartamano vartante manushya partha sarvasha ye yatama prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartamano vartante manushya partha sarvasha. The word to word meaning is like this: ye, all who, yata, as, mam, unto me, prapadyante, surrender, tan, them, tata, so, eva, certainly, bhajami, reward, aham, I, mama, my, vartama, parth, anuvartante, follow, manushya, all men, partha, person of prata, sarvasha, in all respects. So the translation is like this: as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. So here Krishna is explaining how he deals with all of us in this world, the living entities. So ye yatama prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. So how much our surrender and our bhakti is to Krishna, Krishna also reciprocates accordingly. So if you tell Krishna, my dear Lord, please don't interfere in my life, Krishna will say, fine, I will not interfere. But if you tell Krishna, Krishna, I'm completely surrendered unto you, you take control of my life, then Krishna will take control. So God will enter into our life as much as we want. And actually, this is the secret of proper relationship also. In a good relationship, you don't force yourself down. Okay, you wait for the other person to reciprocate. Only how much he reciprocates, that much only you give yourself. So this is Krishna's way of dealing. And then Krishna says, everyone follows my path in all respects. That means indirectly or directly, everyone is trying to surrender to Krishna. Everyone is trying to connect to Krishna. Either you connect to Krishna directly, or you try to uh, connect to Krishna through this material world, Maya. And Maya is also Krishna's energy. So indirectly you're surrendering to Krishna. So we have ultimately these two choices, whether we want to surrender directly to Krishna or indirectly. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport how this is the way Krishna reciprocates with us. So this is called the law of reciprocation. Right? So Prabhupada explains in the purport how ultimately we are all looking for Krishna. Just like George Harrison in the preface or his introductory note to Krishna book, he explains how everybody is looking for Krishna. Some know it and some don't know it. So the devotees know, we are very aware, at least we have got this knowledge that we are looking for Krishna. But the outside people are also looking for Krishna. What does Krishna mean? Krishna means attraction. Everyone is looking for attractive things in this world. But actually they are looking for Krishna, they don't know it. Therefore, they are looking for Krishna in the reflection of this world. So Prabhupada explains how there are different categories of people. The first category of people is people who want material enjoyment. They have nothing to do with spiritual life. They are not at all interested in spiritual life. Their aim in life is to enjoy. How does Krishna reciprocate with them? Krishna tells, okay, you all want enjoyment, I will give you all enjoyment. So that is Krishna's deal with such people. So for such people, Krishna is neutral as a Paramatma. He is very neutral. So according to their good deeds, bad deeds, whatever karma they have, they get a certain amount of material enjoyment. So this is like the lowest category of people, right? So we see in our 84 lakh species, there are 4 lakh species of human beings. What does it mean, 4 lakh species of human beings? That means human beings with different levels of consciousness. So the least level of consciousness are human beings who have complete material enjoyment. They are in the body of humans, but mentality of is of animals. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maitun. So these are the 4 things that they want. And Krishna says, okay, take it and you enjoy. So this is Krishna's reciprocation with materialistic people. That means, in fact, Srila Prabhupada explains towards the end, even for you to enjoy materially, you need Krishna's mercy only. Getting the point? Even for you to enjoy materially, you need Krishna's mercy. Now, very soon, Narsingha Chaturdashi is approaching. So when Hiranyakashipu is asking Prahlad Maharaj, who is giving you this energy, this Shakti? So Prahlad Maharaj is saying, the same person who is giving you also the energy. So it's not that Prahlad is getting energy from Krishna and Hiranyakashipu is getting energy from someone else. Hiranyakashipu is also getting energy from Krishna, but he doesn't know it. So Prahlad is saying, you also, whatever resources you have, what does Hiranyakashipu mean? Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bed. So Hiranyakashipu's life was gain money and enjoy. So Prahlad Maharaj is telling him, even your enjoyment is given by Krishna. That means for us to enjoy separately from Krishna, we need Krishna. So one devotee was explaining what is the definition of an atheist. Atheist means one who doesn't believe in God. How do you define an atheist? What is the definition of an atheist? One who doesn't believe in God. That means to define an atheist also, you need God. Without the word God, you can't even define an atheist. So atheist is someone who doesn't believe in God. So God is there, ultimately. So this is materialistic people. They don't want God in their life, but without God's blessing, they can't even enjoy. Right? So Krishna reciprocates with them. Okay, you want to forget me? Krishna will say, okay, forget. Therefore, Krishna tells in the Gita, Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So Krishna is saying, I am seated in everyone's heart. So if someone tells Krishna, Krishna, I want to forget you, Krishna will say, okay, forget me. Just like Shishupal was finding faults in Krishna. He was finding faults in Krishna. And who was giving him the intelligence to find fault? Krishna only. So he wanted to find fault in Krishna. Krishna said, okay, I will show you faults in me. So he was convinced of those faults. So this is how Krishna reciprocates with materialistic people. So the next category is spiritual people. Now in spiritual people, there are different levels. The Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 11th verse explains, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnayam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdate. That supreme truth, many people have different understandings. Technically, 3 understandings. What are the 3 understandings? Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdate. So same absolute truth, someone calls that person Brahman. You ask people, okay, you are spiritual, na? You believe in God. Who is God according to you? And people will say, God is Brahman. Brahman means energy. He's Shakti. So is that understanding correct? In one sense, it's correct. And Krishna is increasing their faith in them. Such kind of people who worship impersonal form of God, they are also convinced about their philosophy. Krishna is giving them the intelligence. Okay, you want to worship me as Brahman? I will give you that faith. And some people are convinced that God is the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart. So Krishna gives them that faith. Okay, you worship me as super soul. You follow the path of yoga. And then those who have this understanding that God is a person, he's just not impersonal, he is a person also. Krishna gives such people also faith. Right? So such people have faith that Krishna is that Supreme Lord. So everyone, according to what their level is, what they want. So the question is, what do you want? What are you convinced of? If you want material enjoyment, Krishna will give you material enjoyment. If you feel that I want to just merge into Brahma Jyoti, Krishna will say, okay, take that, merge into Brahma Jyoti. So whatever we want, we will get. So it is up to us to choose what level of spirituality we want to function in. So even in spirituality, there are different levels. All spirituality doesn't fall under the same level. What level of spirituality you want to function in? Therefore, the first level is Brahman realization. So the Jnanis, they want to merge into Brahman. They want to finish their proper explains here. So such kind of people, they want to finish their existence. They just want to merge into Brahman. So Krishna says, okay, merge into Brahma Jyoti. Just like Shishupal and all these people, when Krishna killed them, their body, their soul merged into Krishna's body. They got this Ayujya Mukti. Fine. If you want that, you will get that. But this is not the highest thing. Because the scriptures explain Brahma Jyoti is great. You have an eternal life, but you don't experience there is bliss also, but you don't experience the highest amount of bliss. The highest amount of bliss is experienced when we actually serve Krishna, when we maintain our unique identity and we serve Krishna. I was reading Krishna book tomorrow, in fact, day after tomorrow, Saturday in our Panjam class, we're going to discuss this pastime, where Krishna sends his cowherd boys to meet the Brahmanas' wives. There's a place in Vrindavan. Recently in a Vrindavan Yatra, we went to this place, Bratrod Bihari. So this is where Krishna sends his cowherd boys to meet the wives of the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas, they are not interested. Right? They are doing yajna, but their aim of yajna is to attain heavenly planet. So that's the only realization they have. They can't realize Krishna as God. Imagine, so Srila Prabhupada actually explains in that Krishna book, until you have Lord's special mercy, you can't come to this understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. See, these Brahmanas, they were intelligent people. They were doing yajna based on Vedas. But still, when Krishna and Balaram, they sent their friends to beg. Krishna and Balaram are hungry. These Brahmanas couldn't realize that Krishna and Balaram are God. Because they didn't have Krishna's mercy. They just wanted to attain heavenly planet. But when these cowherd boys went to the wives of the Brahmanas, they were not learned in Vedas, but they had full faith in Krishna, unalloyed faith in Krishna. They just took everything that was there in the house and they went running to Krishna. And the husbands, the brothers, the sons, they were stopping these wives, these ladies, don't go. They didn't listen to anyone. They just gave up everything and ran to Krishna. And there it is explained in the Bhagavatam, when they saw Krishna, they have been thinking about Krishna, but the first time they are seeing Krishna face to face. When they saw Krishna, in their hearts, they were embracing Krishna. It was as if they became one with Krishna. And Prabhupada explains there, even though the wives of the Brahmanas, they felt that they have become one with Krishna, they didn't lose their identity. They maintained their identity. So you have such category of people who practice spiritual life who want to finish their identity and they just want to merge into Brahman. So Krishna says, okay, you merge into Brahman. So this is one category. This is good. At least this is better than the materialistic people, but this is not the highest. Higher than this is called Paramatma realization. The yogis who sit to meditate to realize the Paramatma within everyone's heart. They try to connect to the Paramatma. So these are called the yogis, the Paramatma realization. So this is a higher level. But the highest level is the understanding of Bhagavan. That Lord has a form. He is just not impersonal, but he has a form. And even in this Bhagavan understanding, there are different understandings even of Bhagavan. Some people feel Bhagavan is Vishnu. But our Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding is greater than Vishnu is Krishna. So this is also very difficult for people, many people to understand. Many people, they are just happy worshipping Lakshmi Narayan. They don't understand this higher principle of worshipping Radha Krishna. So the point is, even in spirituality, there are different levels. And according to what your desire is, just like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is the story of Mukunda Dutt. So Mukunda Dutt, Lord Chaitanya comes and tells him, chant Hare Krishna, worship Krishna. But Mukunda actually is incarnation of Hanumanji in Chaitanya Leela. But his heart is so much connected to Ram. He knows Krishna is God, Krishna is supreme, but he can't give up his service to Lord Ram. Lord Chaitanya says, perfect, because that's your attachment. So whatever our desire is, whoever we want to worship Krishna, either as Lakshmi Narayan or as Krishna or as Ram, the Lord is ready to reciprocate. So higher than Paramatma is Bhagavan realization. So the point is, spiritual life is full of variety, especially for us, those who follow the Sanatan Dharma, we have so much variety. Just the amount of avatar, everyone can choose which avatar you are attracted to. You are attracted to Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, Varaha avatar. So many varieties there. And even in holy places, there are so many varieties. Vrindavan, Mayapur, Navdeep, there is no end to it. So Krishna has given all these options for us so that we can connect to according to what our inclination and what our desire is. Right? So Srila Prabhupada explains here how even in those who worship Krishna, ultimately we have been seeing that first is the materialistic way, then is the spiritual way, and even in spiritual life there are all these different levels: Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. And out of Bhagavan, the highest understanding is Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is like supreme personality of Godhead. Right? So even in Krishna worship, there are different ways in which you can worship Krishna. Different modes in which you can worship. The first is called Shantaras. You can worship Krishna in a very neutral way. Just like the trees would worship Krishna. You know, even the trees of Vrindavan, they would serve Krishna. When Krishna would walk in Vrindavan, the trees would bend down to give their fruits to Krishna, to give flowers to Krishna. They were doing service to Krishna. But this is called Shantaras, very neutral kind of relationship. Higher than Shantaras is Dasyaras. So as this mellows increase, the intensity also increases. And Krishna's reciprocation also increases. Higher than Shantaras is Dasyaras. Just like you have Hanumanji, a perfect example of Dasyaras. But higher than Dasyaras is Sakhyaras, becoming friend of Krishna. It is higher than Dasyaras. There is more intimacy. Right? When Krishna would play with his friends, none of the friends would consider Krishna to be God only. They would think that Krishna is an ordinary person. They would play kusti with Krishna and they would defeat Krishna. And they were convinced that Krishna is weaker than them. Again, so they were Shantaras. And Krishna reciprocated with them with the same feeling. Right? And higher than Sakhya ras is Vatsalya ras. You can become the parent of Krishna. The love Yashoda had, Nanda Maharaj had for Krishna. Complete paternal love. Right? They feel that Krishna is dependent on them. If I don't feed Krishna, what will happen to Krishna? So this is a higher understanding. General understanding of spiritual life people have is we are dependent on God. But in Vatsalya ras, you feel that God is dependent on you. Again, so in deity worship also, this is the bhav that we have. Right? So we consider that the deities are like my child. I have to take care of the deity. I have to dress the deity. Just like a child, if you don't feed the child can't eat. If you don't dress the child can't dress. So Krishna comes in this deity as a child. So I need to feed Krishna. I need to dress Krishna. This is Vatsalya ras. And higher than Vatsalya ras is Madhurya ras. The love between lover and beloved. And even in Madhurya ras, there are two categories. Swakiya, Parakiya. Just see how the relationship with Krishna, how spiritual life, the variety keeps growing more and more. Even in Madhurya ras, there are two categories. Swakiya, Parakiya. What is Swakiya? Swakiya is Krishna's married relationship with the queens. Krishna's relationship with the queens in Dwarka. Formal married relationship. So that is one ras. But higher than Swakiya is Parakiya. The so-called unmarried relationship of Krishna with the gopis. Completely highest. And even among that, the love that Srimati Radharani has. So in this way, these are the various levels. And Krishna is saying here, now it all depends on our choice. What do we want? How do we want to surrender to Krishna? What do we want? Do we want just one minute? Yeah. Do we want Vaikuntha? Do we want Vrindavan? Right? Even in Vrindavan, do you want to serve Krishna in Sakhya ras, Madhurya ras? What ras? Vatsalya ras? What ras? Right now, for us to choose the rasa is difficult. But the point is, in spiritual life, Krishna is giving all these options for us. What do you want? And Krishna is ready to reciprocate. And Srila Prabhupada explains here a very important point, that ultimately, this is the point here in this verse, the essence is how everyone is dependent on Krishna alone. Everyone is dependent. Even if you're a materialistic person, even for you to enjoy, you're dependent on Krishna. Krishna has to give you intelligence. Imagine you get up in the morning and you forget who you are. Krishna puts off that switch. How will you enjoy? You will not be able to enjoy. Even for you to enjoy, you're dependent on Krishna materially. And in spiritual life, whether you want Brahma Jyoti, you don't believe in the form of Krishna, right? You want to just merge into Brahma Jyoti. Even for that, you're dependent on Krishna. For everything, ultimately, everyone is dependent on Krishna. Even if you have to worship a demigod, the next verse will come to that. Even if you have to worship a demigod, only with Krishna's blessings, you can worship that particular demigod. That means even to worship a demigod, you are dependent on Krishna. So the point ultimately here is how we are all dependent on him. Therefore, we need to be grateful to Krishna for all the opportunities the Lord is giving us. Even though we don't deserve the path of bhakti, the Lord is providing us so much opportunities. And especially in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, we are getting entrance into Vrindavan. Above Vaikuntha is Golok Vrindavan. This highest entry into Vrindavan Dham, Lord Chaitanya is easily giving us. So we need to be very grateful that we are given the highest level, the highest point of spiritual life. We are given free entrance even without qualification. So that's what Krishna explains here in essence. And we all know that in Kali Yuga, Krishna's name is not different than Krishna. Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Nama Navino Abhinnatvam. In Kali Yuga, Krishna's name is not different than him. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we need to be careful what we are desiring. Why? Because Krishna's name will fulfill all our desires. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Whatever you desire, Krishna's name will fulfill. So it is up to us to desire properly. Again, if we chant Hare Krishna and if we desire material enjoyment, Krishna will give us that only. But then we will repent. That's like Bhagavatam, the story is there, no? Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj did bhakti, but why he was doing bhakti? He went to the forest because he wanted a kingdom greater than his grandfather. And he got that. But after getting that, he realized that, Arey, I did a mistake. I should have asked Krishna, but I asked for him something material. So while we chant Hare Krishna, we need to first realize that the names of Krishna are not different than Krishna. And Krishna is constantly seeing our intention. What are we asking Krishna? So therefore, Lord Chaitanya has given us this ultimate prayer. Na danam, na janam, na sundarim, kavita va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmani tvai, bhavatat bhakti ahetuki tvai. So this is the highest prayer Lord Chaitanya has given us. What we should ask Krishna, what we should be aspiring. So our aspiration is, my dear Lord, I don't want any enjoyment of this world. Na danam, na janam, na sundarim, kavita va jagadisha kamai. I don't want anything of this world. I don't even want liberation. I don't even want mukti. I don't want Brahmajyoti also. What I want? I only want service to you, birth after birth. So this is the highest form. And if we have this kind of surrender, the Lord is ready to give himself completely. The surrender that the gopis had, if you have this kind of surrender, that's what Krishna is saying here. How much we surrender unto him, he reciprocates accordingly. So if you have the highest kind of surrender, Krishna is ready to reciprocate completely. So when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura and then Dwarka, the gopis were constantly thinking about Krishna. Again, constantly, day and night, like mad people, they were thinking of Krishna. And Krishna in Dwarka, Krishna is sleeping with his wives, Rukmini, Satyabhama, and all these personalities. But Krishna is constantly thinking about the gopis. In Vrindavan, Radharani is chanting Krishna's name, Krishna, Krishna. And in Dwarka, Krishna is chanting the names of Radharani. Why? Because that's the reciprocation. If you surrender completely, the Lord is ready to surrender. Just like Arjuna was an unalloyed devotee of Krishna, Krishna also gave himself fully. Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Krishna did everything for Arjuna. Why? Because Arjuna surrendered fully. So if we want Krishna 100% in our life, it is important that we surrender 100% to Krishna. If our surrender to Krishna is 50%, Krishna will also come in our life only 50%. But if we surrender fully, Krishna will also reciprocate fully. Right? So this was this verse. So now we'll do the next verse. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So text 12. Kankshanta karmana siddhim yajanta iha devata Shipram hi manusha loke Siddhir bhavati karmaja Kankshanta karmana siddhim Yajanta iha devata Shipram hi manushe loke Siddhir bhavati karmaja Kankshanta karmanam siddhim Yajanta iha devata Shipram hi manushe loke Siddhir bhavati karmaja. Word to word. Kankshantah, desiring. Karmanam, of fruitive activities. Siddhim, perfection. Yajante, they worship by sacrifices. Iha, in the material world. Devata, the demigods. Shipram, very quickly. He certainly. Manushe, in human society. Loke, within this world. Siddhi, success. Bhavati comes. Karmaja, from fruitive work. Translation is like this. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities. and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. So Krishna here, in the previous verse, he explained how if someone surrenders unto him, Krishna is ready to reciprocate. Now the question is, why do so many people go to demigods? Right? You will not find so many people coming to Krishna, but you find many people going to demigods. Why? Because they have material desires. And they know in the heart of heart, Krishna may or may not fulfill material desires. But they go to demigods because the demigods will immediately fulfill their material desires. So Krishna in the 7th chapter also explains, Kame sese ritagyana prapadyante anya devata. So those who approach demigods, they don't go out of pure bhakti. They go because they have some material desires to be fulfilled. So it's more of like a business transaction. You don't have any love for a particular demigod as such, but you just have love for your own desires. You want your desires fulfilled, therefore you go. So this is also a big misconception that people have. People feel that ultimately all paths lead to the same goal. Ultimately everything reaches there. So Srila Prabhupada explains here, there is a great misconception about gods or demigods in the material world. And men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be the various forms of the Supreme Lord. So this is a big misconception in the land of India. People feel worship anyone and everyone, it's all same. So I'm part of some WhatsApp groups in which there's a lot of Hindutva discussions that goes on. I mean, that's like the main discussion going on around in India today. So there they have this discussion that what is ISKCON doing? ISKCON is stressing so much about Krishna worship, but Hindutva is not about that. Hindutva is about worship any god, it's all the same. But I don't know where is that conception of Hindutva there in anywhere in the scripture. There is no understanding. Understanding of many gods is logically also incorrect. God by definition has to be one. If you have conception of many gods, that means you have got the basics only wrong. So the problem is people don't have a proper understanding. And Prabhupada is explaining here, there are people who consider themselves very intelligent, but they don't have right understanding. They feel that God, Krishna and all the demigods are on the same level. And this is actually a big offense. So Prabhupada says here, anyone who thinks that the God and the demigods are on the same level is called a Pashandi, an atheist. That means he doesn't have proper understanding. Even demigods like Brahma and Shiva are dependent on Krishna. In our Vrindavan Parikrama, we were discussing so many stories where even Shiva and Brahma, they come and surrender to Krishna. So Indra comes and surrenders to Krishna. So you can't compare the demigods on the same level of Krishna. The levels are completely different. And therefore, worship of demigods is not the same as worship of Krishna. You can't get the same result. The results will not be the same. Therefore, Krishna tells in the Gita, Yanti deva vrata devan, pitran yanti pitram vrata, bhutani yanti bhutejya, madhyajino apima. So Krishna says, if you worship demigods, you go to the planet of demigods, Swargalok. If you worship Pitra, you go to Pitralok. If you worship the living entities, Bhuta, the people of this world, you may take birth in the material world. But only if you worship me, you will come to me. So worship of Krishna is not the same as worship of the various demigods. And Prabhupada writes here that even Shankaracharya, who is the leader of the impersonalists, accepts that Narayano Paro Vyaktat. He accepts that Narayan is supreme. No demigods can be on the level of Narayan. So this is a big misconception that people have, that you worship any demigod, ultimately it's all the same. It's not the same. You worship a demigod, the demigod may give you a result. But how is the demigod giving you the result? Only by Krishna's mercy. Because demigod doesn't have power of his own. He is not the powerhouse. He is just supplying. The powerhouse is Krishna. They get power from Krishna and they supply you. So what happens, just like in the previous verse we saw, if you have faith in a particular demigod, Krishna will reinforce your faith in that demigod. You pray to a particular demigod, that demigod will fulfill your desire. And you will think that that demigod is supreme. But actually it is Krishna giving, but Krishna doesn't show himself. Krishna is very detached. If someone comes and tells Krishna, uh, I want to worship a particular demigod, Krishna says, okay, I will support you. So Krishna is a very detached God. He's okay if you worship a particular demigod also, but that's not the highest understanding. That's what Srila Prabhupada is explaining here in the report. So uh, uh, Prabhupada actually explains a few very important points, that even why intelligent people take to Krishna consciousness and less intelligent people take to demigod worship. So Prabhupada explains few points. Foolish people worship demigods because they want immediate results. So if you want immediate results, what you do? You worship a particular demigod. But the problem is what? That result will also disappear in time. The demigods can't give you anything permanent. The demigods themselves are not permanent, therefore their benedictions are not also permanent. So Prabhupada explains here, please listen to this. Both the material world and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in the cosmic ocean. So this is a very important point. This material world, including demigods and including those who worship demigods, are like bubbles in this world. Just like in an ocean you have a bubble, what will happen to that bubble? It will burst off. Similarly, that particular demigod, along with his benediction and the worshippers, will disappear in no time. To achieve temporary things, people worship demigods or powerful men. So only for temporary things they worship. But actually, those who are intelligent, they will worship Krishna. So there's a very beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrit. Krishna kahe ama bhaje mage vishaya sukha अमृत चाड़ी विष मांगे एई बड़ा मूर्ख आमी विज्ञ एई मूर्खे विषय के न दिब स्व चरणामृत दिया विषय बुलाइब. So someone may say, ठीक है, in this verse Krishna is saying here that people who are less intelligent, who want immediate things, they worship demigods. But I have material desires. What will happen if I worship Krishna? Will Krishna give me or not? So here this verse says, Krishna kahe ama baje mange vishaya sukha. So Krishna is thinking, this person is worshipping me, but he wants material things. So what does Krishna think? Arey, this fellow is a fool. He is worshipping me, but he is asking something material. So what does Krishna do? Amrita chadi visha mange ei bada murkha. He is not asking for the real nectar. He is asking for things of this world. And things of this world are called vishaya. Vishaya means it's poison basically. If you get things of this world, you actually go away from Krishna's service. So what does Krishna do? Amni vigya ei murke vishaya kena diba. So Krishna thinks, I am intelligent and this person is foolish. He's still childish. He doesn't know what to ask. What I will do? Swa charnamrit diya vishaya bulaiba. I will give him real nectar and I will make him forget the material things. So that's why the conclusion in the Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, in which Shukdev Goswami is explaining the list of various demigods, why one worships one particular demigod. So all the demigods, each of the demigods can fulfill one particular desire of yours, right? If you want good health, you worship Surya, right? If you want rain, you worship Indra, like that. There's a huge list. But after the entire list of worship of all the demigods, Shukdev Goswami explains a very important shloka. He says, just one second. Yeah. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. So this is like the most important verse in this chapter. So he's saying, Akama sarva kamova, whether you have material desires, no material desires, whether you want liberation, whatever it is, what one should do? Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. There is no need to separately worship any demigods. Just worship Krishna. Finish. Just worship Krishna, because Krishna will fulfill whatever you need. He will give you your needs also. He knows your wants also. He knows your needs also, and he'll give you the highest thing. So the most intelligent thing is to worship Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada explains here. Actually, I was thinking of doing the next verse, text 13. I had given the title for today's class, Varnashrama system. But if you start 13, it will go on for another half an hour. So we will stop at this point. Anyone has any questions, any comments? Especially those who are online. Any questions, any comments? Was it okay, audible? Yeah, Ranganachan bro. You can unmute only.
Sorry. This doubt I had for quite some time. There are 5 rasas, and in those 5 rasas, Shanta rasa is one of them. Now, other 4 rasas I have no difficulties in understanding, but Shanta rasa, can human beings worship Krishna? It is only for oceans and trees and.
Actually, the right understanding of Shanta ras is human beings only. So these 5 rasas are experienced in human form only. Actually, technically, what the trees and the animals in Vrindavan experience is called Shanta Rati. It is not Shanta Rasa. So Shant Rasa, whenever this word Rasa is there, it is experienced only by devotees who are like in a human form with Krishna. So there are like some friends of Krishna who are like very small to Krishna. In age wise, they are very younger to Krishna. So the relationship that they have with Krishna is technically called Shantaras.
It's not rivers and trees and things like that.
No, ideally that is called Shantarati.
Okay. So Shantarasa is also by human form.
Human form.
But then we at this stage cannot do this worship in Shantarasa.
No, we cannot do. See, for all of us, see, all these rasas come into play when you have actually crossed Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi. At that time you will understand whether you are a friend of Krishna or parent of Krishna. All those rasas can be cultivated at that point. So till then, the path is the same. So till we reach Anartha Nivritti, cross Anartha Nivritti and all, we can't even think about all these aspects.
I know, but then at least we can relate it to other rasas, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. But to Shanta rasa, I am not able to relate myself.
The Shanta rasa is basically what you say, where you don't have. It's more of awe and reverence. That's the point.
Awe and reverence. Okay.
More of awe and reverence.
Okay. Now I understood. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Paramdalu Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The Chaturkumaras comes under Shantarasa Prabhu.
Chatushkumaras. I'm not sure where they come from. Shantarasa could be also. We'll have to check out. Yeah, could be. Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Any other question? Those who are online? Okay. So thank you. I think next week I'm there. So next Thursday we will try to continue.